Hi, thanks for watching. This is some highlights from our online sessions that I call the Inner Sanctum online sessions. And I edit out about 40 minutes from our teachers free for you to watch, because people that join our online sessions, it is a paid service. It is part of the way I make a living and help other teachers promote their work. So if you'd like to join the online Inner Sanctum group sessions, we have a guest teacher once a month, and I teach once or twice a month deliberate creation and energy exercises and how to tap into your intuition and how to be more psychic. Please sign up on the website Swain/Inner Sanctum. So I hope you join us if you're somebody that wants to make a difference in this world and feel like you've got something to share and you'd like a little support team and meet other teachers and meet some of the guests I have on the show and hear wonderful stories and wonderful teachings. So enjoy the highlights, and I'll see you soon. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Inner Sanctum. Where are we? April 19th, 20th, with guest teacher Velentaya Reece.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me again.
Oh, it's so beautiful to have you again. As I said just a minute ago, we're going to go briefly over your story because as people watching this, your story going from normal, when I say normal person, who you thought you were to who you now are, happens so, in a funny way actually, but it happened so speedily. I might just read a bit of your bio so people know who we're talking to. Velentaya Reece is a vibrational linguist who channels the language of light and the language of the Akash and written codes of healing, expanding the movement of individuals beyond their current dimension and timelines of disharmony to one which is more in alignment with their soul blueprint. A trance channel for the Syrians, Lyrans, and other groups, she is an open vehicle for many dimensions and consciousnesses, blending rhythm, tone, and frequencies with her work, and aims to balance the physical, mental, and emotional bodies, crystallize the DNA, and reconnect humanity to source consciousness and their divine gifts and purpose. And as I say, you haven't always been like that. Let's just go over a little bit about how you recognized that this is who you are.
I mean, like a lot of people, they're going through life and they feel disconnected from what they're doing. I was in that place. I was in a very creative career, which I loved, but the hours were extremely long and demanding, and I was giving my all for my work. I was living to work, and I did that for 30 years of just like nights and weekends, and being told on a Friday that I'd have to work all weekend, or being on vacation and getting called back in the middle of vacation and getting on an airplane. And I just thought like, wow, this is, I'm not saving lives, right? I'm doing television commercials. So this doesn't feel right. And I just started questioning things. And I knew that, there was so much more out there. I think intuitively, and just, the universe guiding me, the job that I was at, one of my bosses was into alternative modalities, and I'd never heard of any of that. I grew up with a doctor, traditional medicine. And so he would, something would be wrong with me, and he would, oh, you should go to this person. And so I started getting introduced to energy work that way. And my mind was blown, and I thought, okay, there's something to this. I started exploring avenues and going to all these different practitioners, also too, to manage my stress. I was under a lot of stress, and I would see people at work die. And I knew that I didn't want that to happen to me. And, being a sensitive, right, you take on everybody's stuff. So I thought, okay, I have to manage this. So started getting energy work done and saw a lot of transformation in my life. My whole thought process started changing. I started being more relaxed, wasn't so stressed. And then that just kind of unfolded into me then wanting to do it myself. So like a lot of people, we start with Reiki, which is what I did. And Reiki really, by the time I finished my Reiki master, that's kind of like when everything kind of opened up for me after that. But during that time, I was still not really being the frequency that I was learning about. So I was still very 3D. I would do my Reiki self-care. I would take clients now and then, but then I was back into my pretty much my old way of being. I had awareness, but I wasn't really practicing what I was preaching. And so kind of the universe again had that sledgehammer moment. And I was too afraid to leave the career, even though I was miserable. So I talked myself into staying. And I said, well, I'm going to stay. And if I'm meant to leave, it's just going to happen organically. And that's what happened. And right before Christmas, I lost the job that I'd been in for all these years. The boyfriend and I broke up. And I was just left with, really, I was in my own misery. I was such a victim. And again, like ruined everybody's holiday because it was right before Christmas. So totally made it all about me, crying all the time and just couldn't do anything. And then after a few days of that, I thought, okay, I've got to snap out of it. I've got to put into practice all the stuff that I've been doing. I wasn't doing this not to put it into practice. And I started with self-love, and that really was the key. And I think at the root of all of our stuff, it all really comes down to self-love. I think that's such a key component.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, that cannot be hammered home enough. Self love, and
Yeah.
I don't really think people, for the most part, know exactly what self love is.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want
Because,
to?
I mean, when we don't have self-love, we have lack mentality,
Hmm.
and we have self-worth mentality, and we have self-worth issues. And so everything stems from loving and honoring yourself, but also loving and honoring everybody else. And really, for me, I couldn't even look in the mirror. I started with mirror work, and I couldn't look in the mirror and say, I love you, without bursting into tears. And
Oh,
it was difficult. I dreaded it. My
mm,
5 minutes a day that I had to do it, I dreaded it, but I showed up every day and I did it. It sounds so simple, right? But
yeah,
it was so difficult.
yeah.
But about 3 weeks in, I just started transforming. I started feeling better. I got out of my own way, and I just started being happy. And self-care, like taking time to honor yourself and not being so caught up into the stress, into the everyday routine that we get into, because we want our lives to change so much, but they're not going to change if we keep doing the same things, if we keep thinking the same thoughts, if we keep acting the same way. And so it really was, that's when I really started putting all of that into practice. I started doing different things. I started meditating. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a boyfriend. I had the entire day to myself, kind of like the situation we're in now. I didn't leave the house. I focused and I worked on just changing my life and meditating and listening to teachers and speakers and doing whatever I could to feed my soul, and disconnecting from old activities, like getting rid of television shows that really weren't serving my highest good, shows that I would watch that would make me pace and stress out while I'm watching it. My dog would go and hide because I'd be so stressed. I thought, okay, I can't be doing this. This isn't serving anyone. So just really giving up those old things, and things started unfolding.
I know, I know. Television. Oh, television. The frequency that's pumped out of television is just so. I used to watch it and enjoy shows like murder mysteries and all that sort of thing once, but now I watch television and I just think, why is everyone so mean to each other? Like, everyone is just so mean to each other. There's
Right.
just no love on television. It's all
No.
about solving problems and murder and deceit and lies and drama. They call it.
Right.
And I'm thinking, as at this time that we're going through, where everyone's at home watching television,
Right. I
yeah,
hope they're not. I hope they're watching better things. Like, I don't even turn my television on. You know, I'm, I hope they're not,
yeah,
because this is such a good opportunity. So, you know,
absolutely.
it's such a good opportunity to be creative and really focus on creating the reality that you want to live in. And we really do have that creative potential. You know, that's what this new paradigm is about. You know, the old paradigm that we're leaving is all about external world affecting us. You know, I'm this victim of the outside world, and, you know, I'm sick because of that, and I can't do this because of that. And this new paradigm is, you know, we're the creators, and we can, you know, we have all these timelines running, and we get to choose what timeline we want to take part in. And so it's really about opening up that awareness and taking advantage of those frequencies that are available right now to do that.
Absolutely. As the world has been told to, you know, stay still and go indoors, like literally stay still. Don't, you can go out to exercise, but don't go out to do anything else, not even go to work. It is an opportunity for that exploration of human consciousness, like who am I outside of my job, outside of my story, outside of my identification with my name, my body, my country, my job, my life. You know, who am I outside of that? Because, you know, we were talking about self-love before, and I think that when you stop identifying with you as the body and you start identifying with you as this spark of divinity, this infinite potential, this creative, unbounded creative energy, how could you not love that? You know?
Right. Right. And when I had my big aha moment and I got thrust into that 4 months of bliss that I had, that was so front and center. Oh, this is who I am. This is all of that other stuff didn't matter anymore. You know, there was no stress and no worry and no fear and no doubt and no questions and no concerns. And it was just this amazing, beautiful bliss and joy and love and connection, and just this overwhelming, I smiled all the time. I just was in this pure state of connection. And I learned who I was, and I understood that everything else is something that it's a program. It's a program that's been running. And when I started speaking the languages, because I was speaking them so much, I was clearing all those programs so quickly.
Well, let's go into how the languages found you. Because I feel like the languages found you rather than you found the languages.
They did. They really did. So I was, a friend of mine wanted me to go to an event, and I didn't want to go. I really didn't want to go, but I was like getting dragged there. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll just go. And when I went, I met someone, and she said, oh, I speak light language. And I had no idea what it was, never heard of it. She said a few sentences, and I thought, oh, wow, that sounds really familiar to me. I know I've spoken that. I feel like I know this. And prior to me going to this event, I was at that point where I was asking what's next in my life. I was asking that question, am I supposed to take this class? Like, I was looking into things like, should I be taking hypnotherapy? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Show me what I'm supposed to do. So I meet this woman. She speaks the language. I think I know this language. I go home that night and I just keep thinking about it. Like, I feel like I know this. Why do I feel like I know this? So I went to bed that night thinking, okay, I think this is that thing I'm looking for, but I don't know. So if it is, just show me that. And literally like 2 hours later, I wake up from a sound sleep and I'm singing these languages at the top of my lungs. And I'm like, you know, I'm not a singer, and I'm singing and it sounds kind of good. So I thought, oh, wow, okay, what's this? What's going on here? And I couldn't control it. And from that moment on, it was just this constant flow of me not able to control anything coming out of my mouth. And that went on for days. And I would speak for 40 minutes at a time all day long. And it would feel so powerful, like we spoke about. I couldn't control it at first. And I would just feel this, it would start in my chest, and I would feel this energy, and it would start to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Then I was thinking, oh my goodness, here it comes. And my mouth would pop open like a cork coming out of a champagne bottle. It would just like, bam. and it was just these languages, and I had no control, and I would sob as it was happening. It was really emotional because I was clearing all these things so quickly. And so I think it was this sobbing because I'm remembering this part of me that I had been waiting for, had been missing. And so that reuniting with that, and then, but also sobbing because I'm clearing these things that I've carried through lifetimes. And, you know, it was crazy. It was beautiful. It was, you know, I couldn't leave the house because, you know, my mouth is going to fly open and I don't want people to think I'm crazy. So I would plan my trips on these outbursts. So I started to time them, and I thought, okay, they're happening about 2 hours apart or an hour and a half apart. I can run outside as soon as I'm done having an outburst, and I can do things that I need to get done. And always being aware of like corners and trees that I can duck into in case it happens in public. And that, between that and the languages, I was getting just this stream of energy pouring through my crown. It would knock me off balance. This happened all day long. I was just getting all these frequency upgrades, and it was very overwhelming, you know. So between the languages and this coming through my body, I felt like helpless in a way. I didn't have anyone to talk to about this. I didn't understand what was happening because I didn't know about this stuff. And so I somehow Googled, how can I stop this energy from pouring through my crown? And I got the answer that I should wear a hat. I don't know how I found it, but I found it. And I had one hat. It was a ski cap, and I searched for it, found this hat, put it on. It's July, burning hot, 90-degree weather. And I'm walking around with a winter ski cap on my head to stop that energy from flowing through my crown.
At least it wasn't tinfoil.
True.
Oh, I know. I know, it's crazy. You know, I'm sitting here thinking about your work. When I was listening to Aaron, I had this delicious young man on the show recently, and he and his girlfriend do this podcast called Heal Thyself, and they talk about masculine ways of healing and feminine ways of healing. And I had never put healing into these categories, but you know, yeah, right. And you know, feminine ways of healing would be things like ayahuasca or sound healing, where it's all emotional. It's not a logical process. And masculine ways of healing would be a bit more like what I do with people is I speak to the logical mind, and then we shift thought forms and stuff like that. But when I think about the activations and what you do, this has to come under the banner of feminine, because there's no logic, like you bypass the logical mind.
Right.
Yeah.
You do, but I think now, like when we're putting it in masculine and feminine, that's still like the old paradigm where we're having to categorize things, and that just keeps things in separation. Where, you know, I have a lot of male clients, and I think that it appeals to everyone because, first of all, it feels really good. And I think that it all comes down to trust. And when we're leaving that old paradigm and stepping into that new one, it really is about trust. And we have to let go of those old belief systems because yes, the old way works. For sure it works. People have been doing it that way for years, but now we're leveling up. And when we can step into our true divinity and our purpose, it is stepping into that trust and knowing that when I was in that bliss, I didn't care about details. They didn't matter. I didn't care about the story. I was in this place of overwhelming knowing and trust that those things that we associate with our human aspect, our human minds that are so important to that analytical brain, they didn't matter at all. They just didn't matter. And so I think that this work for some people might challenge that for them because they're still trying to figure it out and get all the details and get all the information, which is fine. It's good to have, but know that you don't need that to heal. You don't need the details to transform. You really just need to have the conscious awareness of the pattern or of that program, and then the intention to clear it.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. Mm. Yeah, it's interesting that you say I wouldn't put it into male, female, because I have never done that either, sort of separated them. But I think that it speaks to more of the person coming for the healing, what they need. Some
Mm.
people need to understand why they feel different, and some
Yeah.
people don't care. It's just I feel different and I don't care why. And some
Mm.
people need to like literally do forgiveness work. I need to forgive my ex-husband, my mother, my father, blah blah blah
Right.
blah blah blah. And then they'll say, I feel different because I let go of the stress. I
Yeah.
forgave people. And then again, some people don't need that logic either. I don't know
Yeah.
why I feel different. I had an activation language of light and I feel like a completely different person. And now I can love the person who I hated.
Right.
Like,
Right. It's amazing because, you know, the work when I do group classes, and, you know, I'll have the same group of people who've received the same activations for the 6 weeks or 7 weeks that we're doing them. And everybody's outcome is so different, which is so amazing, the way that it meets people exactly where they are, gives them exactly what they need. And some people it could be a health issue. Some people it could just be, you know, they want to make a life change. It's just so different.
yeah. Look, I really feel like this work that you're doing is an accelerated way of getting through what took me years to get through. So I came at it from a very logical perspective. I read a lot of books, I did a lot of personal growth, and, you know, I sort of did a lot of forgiving, and it was like years. And I
Yeah.
just don't think we've got years anymore. I think people need to sort of wake up, stop hating people, stop judging people, and get on with
Right.
it and start feeling more unified, more connected, more loving, and just get on with it. And I feel like this work that you're doing is this accelerated journey. It's like just turns the volume up. Like let's
It's
bypass logical mind and like, yeah.
it's really accelerated. And I think it's kind of interesting because, right, we live in this fast-paced world where we want all these things really fast, but then in many cases, in terms of healing and transforming our lives, we slow that down and we get stuck into that grind of needing to know, and you know, beating ourselves up and being the victim, and why did this and this and that. And we don't have to do that. We can accelerate that too, just like we're accelerating everything else. So it's really letting go of those programs that we're holding in our DNA. And that's what that work does. It gets rid of those programs and it clears those strands.
Absolutely.
How does the light language serve what we're going through as a collective on the global planet? How does that serve us now?
Good question.
So, yeah, that's a great question. So collectively, right, we have this overarching ascension timeline that we're going through, and then we've got these individual timelines, or we have branches where different collectives of people are going through different things within this overarching timeline. I guess we could use the pandemic as kind of this thing that's bringing all of this stuff up for us to look at. This pandemic is really bringing up so many programs that many of us are trying to clear, and getting out of that old paradigm and into the new one. Fear programs are coming up big time, and they are bombarding us with fear about, you know, you can't go outside, and this is highly contagious, and all of these things. So people are being faced with that directly. It's bringing up sickness programs. You know, we can clear those programs. And so, you know, people that have not directly cleared them, unfortunately, they're finding themselves in this branch of a timeline where they are being directly affected by this virus and succumbing to it, where, you know, there's this other part of us who exist in this other branch where, you know, we know about the virus, we are not going to get it, and nothing's going to happen. But then there's some people who are in another branch who might get it, they'll they'll be fine, they'll recover. So we have all these different things playing out, but then these individual timelines that we're each experiencing, you know, maybe some people are dealing with addiction programs now because they've got all this time on their hands. So, you know, are people overindulging, overeating, over drinking, over whatever? And then we've got, right, separation programs playing out, you know. You can't be near people, you have to stay home. And, you know, even separation between what's going on in government, you know, this party versus that party, and, you know, these people are wrong, and, you know, separation, judgment programs. People are judging what's going on, like judging their communities and how people are behaving, and if they're not adhering to the rules, or even judging their own individual governments, like you know, how are they handling this individually versus globally. So there's so much stuff coming up for people to really look at, and I think it's such a good opportunity for people to look at, why am I getting triggered, and, you know, what is triggering me, and what can I do to transform this? Show me why I'm getting triggered, and then help me transform this so that I can clear this program once and for all and not experience it. So having that conscious awareness, and where my work comes in is that it actually helps, it clears those programs from the DNA. This is information that lives within those strands of DNA. These are those fear-based programs, those patterns, those limiting beliefs, thought processes that have been playing out over and over and over and over, and will continue to play out until you clear them. And this is, you know, beyond our, you know, we get into that positive affirmations, and that can only get you so far, because this is an energetic thing within the DNA that has to get cleared. And once it is, it opens up those positive timeline information for you, which is the opposite of what you've been experiencing. So this is what that work does. And not labeling it, you know, I'm never going to say like, I used to do this, but my guides kind of steered me into keep it more open and free flowing, where we just give you the transmission. We can hold an intention for it, but just always to receive your highest and greatest healing, and let the work do what it needs to do without trying to control or direct it. You're welcome.
Absolutely. It's like the acceleration, that's turned up the volume on the distortions of our world, so that it's in our face in such a way we can no longer ignore it. We just can't ignore it. Yeah.
And it's like this one thing that's brought it all up, like everything at once. Like, how amazing is that actually, right?
Absolutely. You know, I was talking to a friend last night about this, and all of you might feel a little bit like this too. Like, I go into my logical mind, which looks at what's happening and the absurdity of what's happening, and I go, oh my God, really? You know, I look at police arresting people sitting on a park bench, and then people are sending me videos, like my messenger is just going crazy. People sending me videos of all different ideas, like the sort of control of the cabal, and, you know, the blessed ascension, and everything in between, you know, the fear-based stuff, and the beauty of it, and everything in between. And so I've watched videos of police beating people in India to sort of go home, and just like, it's just crazy what's happening in this world. And
it's crazy. And, you know, where is your consciousness regarding it most of the time? Because if we keep it in that, oh my gosh, I have all this free time to do stuff I haven't been able to do, and I have this free time to, you know, create stuff. And that's where we want to be, as opposed to looking at, oh my gosh, well, am I going to get that check in the mail that the government's supposed to send me? And what am I going to do about my job? And I know it's really hard to get out of that frame of mind, but it's really such an amazing opportunity to move into that place of trust, which is where that new paradigm, that's where it's going. So, you know, start practicing, start trusting in that you're always going to be provided for. Like, you know, I'm not hoarding stuff. I know that it's going to be available when I need it. I live in a small space. I don't have room to hoard. So it's like, this is New York. I don't have a lot of room.
Oh yeah, you're in New York. I forgot about
Yeah.
that. I just wanted to finish that thought. Like, so my mind is going, look at this. This is so crazy and ridiculous, the logical mind. And then the higher mind comes in and goes, yes, isn't it crazy and ridiculous? And look how it's going to transform. Like, look what's happening. Look at how people are reacting to the infringements on their rights, their freedoms. There's like this upsurgence. No, this is not okay. So they're sort of showing me about how the human mind, which seeks freedom, and when you try and clamp that freedom down, how there is this rebellion. And although I would never teach, even though I'm an amazingly rebellious soul, I would never teach anyone to be like rebellious, like go out on the streets and yell and say, no, because there are protests all over the world about this lockdown, like that the mainstream media are not showing people. There are
Wow.
people out there videoing. Germany, there was a whole lot of protests, especially in America, there's a whole lot of protests. So people that are supposed to be indoors and separated are coming together in groups and yelling and screaming about, they're rebelling against the lockdowns. And
Wow.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't
So
even know that.
yeah. And so as I look at the absurdity of what's happening, and the logical mind goes, oh my God, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. My guides or the higher mind keeps going, it is, but look what's happening. Like, just watch, just wait, just watch, wait and see, wait and see. And it's kind of exciting.
When you started to channel the light language, how it changed your way of thinking of this life you had and living your life?
I mean, it changed everything because, I was this stressed out, fear-based person that was constantly worrying. If anyone would call me on the phone and said, how are you? My first thing was, well, I'm stressed about this. That was my answer all the time. And, I think about it, like, how annoying is that? But, I went from that to being in flow with just like living life without any kind of control or, I used to control everything. I would have my entire day planned from the minute I woke up until the minute I went to bed. And between 9 and 10 o'clock, I had to do this, and 10 and 11, this had to get accomplished, on and on and on through the entire day. And if something interrupted that schedule, I would get really agitated. So I went from that, controlling everything, to being like, life is beautiful. And wow, I was in this bliss for 4 months, and I realized that none of that is important, because I was in that state of connection and bliss and joy and peace and harmony and abundance, and it just totally changed me. And that's how I am now. I'm just so grateful, and I know that I can create the reality I want. And I don't, I've worked, I got rid of so many fear programs, and it just like transformed me.
Yeah, so this 4 months actually made you clear out the programs without processing them.
Yeah, through the day, just because I was speaking the languages so much.
Yeah.
And it was just clearing. And that's why I think I was put into that bliss, because I'd cleared so much that it was happening so fast. This, like, in a matter of a week, I just was like, woo.
But do you think that this is where we are approaching now?
I think that, people, when you do the DNA work, yes. I think that when you are open to trust in that work, yes. Yes, for sure. But we have to really, we have to trust, and we have to let go of the old thought processes, our old way of what we think. It really, it is just changing your old thought process and trusting. It sounds so simple, It really is. We like to complicate it. we like to get our brains involved and try and dissect it. You know, for me, it was happening so fast. I didn't have time to think about it. I didn't have time to question it. I didn't have anyone to talk about it with. All I knew, like, I was my first client. I saw my life change completely in days. In days.
How do I support the people in my life who are like turtles, just trying and struggling? How do we break them free from that so that they pop?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I think what I've noticed, even in my own journey, you know, my family was not on board with this so much. My dad was open to it, but my mom didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to talk about it. She was embarrassed or whatever she was dealing with. And I would just freely plant seeds. You know, if she asked me about my day, I'm not going to censor things. And I just would talk about what's going on. And little by little, you know, without me forcing it down her throat, just me being in my true authentic self about what's going on in my life. Now she's open to it now. We can have a conversation. And I just think, you know, we can't control other people. We can't, you know, but we can be who we're here to be. And just by doing that, you are affecting those people. It might not be something you see right away, but you are planting seeds, and your energy is shifting them just because they are in your field. They are a part of your life, and they are shifting. So just continuing to do that without any kind of expectation or any kind of direction of why you're saying the things you're doing or why you're doing the things you're doing. You're just being you and shining your light.
Absolutely. Excuse me, that's so beautiful. One thing I want to say to that too, Yannette, is remember that every single being on this planet is an extension of the source. Like everyone is infinite intelligence, infinite enlightenment, infinite bliss, like everyone. So as we meet people who are fully entrenched in their programs, the best way to help them is to see their beliefs as something they're wearing and not who they are. Like, see them for who they are. I know that you're a soul of infinite intelligence connected. You know, you're an extension of God. You're God. You're God like me. We're all gods, like Blair would always say. God doing it your way. You're just God doing it your way. And I was reminded of my niece, bless her heart. It's kind of like when she started playing with makeup, and she's an expert at makeup now. She's an opera singer and she sort of has to put on a lot of makeup. But she started playing with makeup for the first time, and she decided that having these really thick black eyebrows that were really painted close together looked really good. And everyone around her was telling her that does not look good. And she's like, it so looks good. Don't tell me what to do. You don't know. You're old and I'm young and trendy. And I thought to myself, one day, Laddie's cracking up. One day you're going to look at photographs of yourself and you're going to say, why didn't you tell me I looked so bad? You know, she looked like Groucho Marx. And it's a bit like, if you look at people with their programs, like the eyebrows that they're wearing, it's not who they are, but they think it looks good. And then one day they're going to look back and say, why didn't you tell me I was such a bitch? I was such a warrior. I was such a stress head. You know, because one day they're going to look back at themselves and see it from a totally different perspective. So as you hold the vision for that one day, or as you hold the vision for their divinity inside the program, you so allow them to see it too, I think. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe we all come from the stars, and we all,
Yep.
you know, our DNA it's all carrying information. So no matter what your lineage is, you know, some people are more galactic or angelic or more Arcturian or more whatever, or, you know, more, you know, earth beings. It's all carrying those programs, and it's also carrying that positive information. And it's just like that program, that negative program right now is overriding that positive. So when I give the activation, it activates that DNA. And then over time, it's an attunement process where you start shifting internally. And that happens over time. Sometimes it happens fast, but you notice that little by little, your life starts changing and it starts getting better, and things that used to bother you or used to cause that anxiety don't cause it so much. And it's just something that unfolds. So I believe that, you know, when we do these other things like, you know, the visualizations and the this and the that, that's only part of the story, because we're still not dealing with that energetic component that's in the DNA. So when we do the other stuff, it does require a lot of efforting, right? But when we clear that program physically, we energetically clear that, then you're more in flow. You're not efforting as much, and it starts to unfold.
I want to say something about decision and responsibility with any healing. I remember when I went to see John of God, like 20 years ago. And when I made the decision to go to Brazil to see this energetic healer, I started having instant healings. And what I experienced is I had this lump come up like an egg on just at the base of my spine. I can't remember which side. It might have been this side, but I can't remember. And I knew that it was because I had made a decision to go. And so they were like preparing me. And I wasn't sick, or I just wanted an acceleration on my spiritual journey, really, to go and see. And I was totally curious about what was going on over there. And so I had this lump hanging off the back of my head for a couple of few weeks. And I remember in the plane, as we were touching down in South America and Brazil, I felt my head and the lump had started to subside. And by the time I got to the casa, it was completely down. But I knew something was going on.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting when you make a decision, healing starts working even before you turn up for the session. Do you know what I mean? It's so interesting how this happens. And also when you have your activation or your healing or whatever happens inside the session or the activation or the inner sanctum or whatever, wherever you are, it's still your responsibility to maintain that frequency once it's shifted. It's a bit like going to the chiropractor, like getting yourself all bent out of shape and then going to the chiropractor and he puts you back into shape. And now you go back out into your world and you get all bent out of shape again. But it's still your responsibility to sort of keep the alignment. Yeah. So decision and responsibility, as much as any healer can help you, we're responsible for what's happening vibrationally speaking to us. And
it's so true. Even when I was going to Peru, the minute I made that decision, stuff started happening.
Totally.
Ooh,
getting all like goosebumps.
Yeah, totally.
So maybe we should do a little activation. Have the guides got anything that have your guides got anything specifically they want to sort of bring through for this little group, for this little tribe?
We want to bring through just the frequencies that are coming through now on the planet, and helping people with that and integrating it, and helping them to clear whatever needs clear so they can just align with what's going on now with more ease and more grace. My team, my main gatekeepers are my Syrian beings, and they serve as the gatekeepers. They find the other beings to bring them through based on the group who's there, their vibration, what's going on in their field. And they kind of direct those beings to come through. I don't do anything. I just sit here. they will speak through me. So many times my voice may change to get the right pitch or the right tone or the right frequency if they think I cannot do what needs to be done with my own voice. So you may hear my voice change. Different languages will zoom in and out of each other. Sometimes one language may be there for a while, and then another one will sneak in, and then the other one will come back. And so you might hear one more than once, and they kind of zoom in and out. And sometimes there's like just a hybrid language where they all come together into one. So just continue breathing, asking my guides to be present, to bring forth the frequencies for the highest healing for our group today. And we thank them in advance for these codes. And just continue breathing, relaxing into the space. And just relaxing as you receive. Ise astako taslefet nohia, dakle at dage ak shadofi as davua. Yanda ak mahakoda dekvidi at tikesta si saso. Ishto vo le et zigada nekve uda pai levestu ustia. Shatoko taiteke vetia at tike at tukut tiketike at tika sikiti. Shatokota take tikata fatika tofiti stide at duvut dai fatamane at me at mohotamak mahatimek be vele veda vuda vu asneme esu. A shodofuta keshtabe at stikeshtabe as masasana ai bo yabitivi aleveta sai akumane sevi a ut sikitivi. Yishadavadai mohoyana maneanu. Yorapu asufitia polefe, Shadoviak tobiak venda funda undape apun, Mahamono atsumiki tibi, Shafu atbakotepe, Valavela vusneanano, Yeseveta kuti bete vita pita beka tata bete kiti visa kut tikete bete by, Namane metabo atoboroya puto da beashunakota, Togolevito kudabea kuti de visikote itime ishnimi ashnakaya manokotine, Ayanamanian nikotia biahe. Katabia sikatai, Falavodora is the Monosia Sutusa Stukobia, or Fotodore Etzibicaraboto it one army again, you know, Plevele, Belevedo Rapaticado, Yakeme Kunukutufika, Huleveta Bara Atstukia Ashmo, Amamona, Mokoma Akma Okimiki, Chikomono Kudu Tatula Fekubo La Kutapokia, Hahu Akmoka, Yensikene Maknia, Nekene make an octi dake the catch to get. Venda manata de beta foseleso shatai keteve ketevatai ketavalat satai tatavatoke hai kototoloko sevekatika tavatavan hatate vehenata tai ketavositi shai ketevala vetete tateketevitikoto natanda telete sai atiteketo. Fosa dorazzo tapecamando. Yes, I'm so out of it when it's happening that like, so I remember there was the very joyful ones coming through. I could feel them so strongly. That one sticks out in my head so much. I felt some angelic frequency coming through very quickly, but then went away, but I don't really see them. The joyful ones, I feel like they're my little Teletubby-like beings. At least that's what I saw in my mind's eye for that one. But for the most part, no, I'm so not involved in it. I don't. Okay. I feel kind of dizzy. I just don't remember.